J.R. Tolkien. So I was going to say R. Martin. Freaking Tolkien, Lord of the Rings. An amazing interview. It kind of blew my mind because he's just the one person I just think of as, the I can't even find the right word, but basically, the interview was about like how people look at Lord of the Rings, and it was an interview with him, and someone was basically like, so this is all metaphors for World War II, right? And well, what are orcs? Are these black people? And it's just like literally like everyone, and that was a huge thing at the time, and like people still think this day, and you know it was a metaphor for World War II because that was the time period that he was in, and
Mm-hmm.
he was in World War II, and it does make sense. But in these interviews of Tolkien, he literally dismisses all of this stuff about metaphors and his work being allegories for things, and it's kind of hilarious because like he's like, yeah, I just wrote a book on fucking orcs. Like literally, he's like has nothing to do with the war. I don't care. It's like this isn't a metaphor for anything, you weirdo. He's like, I just wanted to make a cool fantasy novel, and like that's literally how he looked at it. But then like I watched, and then it like yeah, the interview because it was a part of this thing where you know now media is such a different thing now where like it's almost subconsciously that probably is what he probably is talking about. Like even if he wasn't explicitly saying these orcs or like talking about World War II, it's like there's no way he possibly could not have taken his experiences and put those into that book. Or
Mm-hmm.
like even if or like if it wasn't, someone can still take that also and put that experience in. It's just kind of interesting. Like it doesn't have to be a straight up like this is what it is type of thing. And like even because it almost seemed like, and that's the thing too, right? It almost blatantly feels like a World War II commentary, like the
Mm-hmm.
books. Like, but then again, he thinks like I don't know where people get this from, but because it almost feels like psychology where he experiment or something. 'Cause it's just
Yeah,
like
you got the psychoanalyst saying that he's projecting his experience
yeah,
onto
exactly.
paper.
But he's like, oh, I was just writing a novel. But
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, it's just I find that so interesting too. But then in a way, I kind of do feel like yeah, it's like there's no way he was just writing about orcs. Like I don't know. I feel like people are deeper than they give themselves the right to be.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense, yeah. I don't know, and that's why I like storytelling and creating is just you can take it however way you want to, even if it's the way that the author didn't intend in a way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You can conceive your own ideas from
Yeah,
reading something. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be something that there's a there's a marriage between ideas of yours and those of the authors, and those create
yeah,
something else. Those
exactly.
create a different idea in your head. And
Because
I
it's
think
actually so funny. So, like, sorry about
no, no.
really blew my mind. Like the interview with Tolkien, like it literally just seems like such the biggest thing. He's like, oh, it's a book about orcs.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like so weird. He just seems like that guy would be so yes, this means this and that. It's Lord of the Rings, yes. But
Yeah.
no, he's like, nah, just wrote a book.
I think that might be what makes people like that so successful when they're just writing for the sake of writing rather than writing to
Yeah,
make political commentary, is that
yeah,
they're making an abstraction of all of the different heroes that they've ever come into
yeah,
contact with. So instead of writing about one particular person or one particular experience, they're writing this abstraction of. So I think that Sam was the hero's journey in Lord of the
yeah,
Rings.
exactly.
Him and Frodo are kind of a. It's funny because if you put them into one person, then they become more of a whole person. But
Yeah,
the two of them together
definitely
operate
has
as
more
as like
growth.
there's like a dual persona
Yeah,
in them as one person, but as differing characters, they complement and grow with and for each other. And so what Tolkien does is take abstractions of every hero's journey story and puts those into the his characters and allows for them to grow at their own pace. And
exactly.
rather than starting off with this idea of he's not starting with politics. You
Mhm.
can you can superimpose politics onto Tolkien, but Tolkien isn't
specifically.
superimposing politics
And I
into
think
Lord
why
of the
it
Rings.
really reads well too. Like
Hmm.
rereading it, like there's I have a really big trouble with a lot of fantasy novels or just fantasy in general because it can be a lot of just expository and it's expository of a lot of the same shit. Like
Hmm.
not to be like rude, but it's like a lot of fantasy can just be generic. You know, like, this is the hero and blah blah. He has his mentor dude, blah blah. Saves the queen. That guy dies. Great, but it's like you know, and then the politics stuff. There, you know, we have the world building and stuff. We got to make this boring ass fucking world, and it's like, but then like you see like Tolkien, and yeah, it's so well done, and it's not like overly overdone like what you just said. Like yeah, I don't know, it feels so well done. Yeah, it's hard to explain.
It
Yeah,
just
I have
flows.
such
It's
a
so
trouble with
natural.
that. Yeah, and like it's so weird because Lord of the Rings seems like you know the generic of all generics, but
Hmm.
it's not. Like it's really not at all like every other fantasy. It's so strange. I fucking love Lord of the Rings so much. Sorry, like